In just 50 years, Singapore transformed from a tiny, resource-poor island into one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. Today, the average Singaporean enjoys a higher standard of living than the average American. Yet, in 1965, the outlook for the nation was bleak. Fresh out of a forced separation from Malaysia, Singapore found itself with no natural resources, a massive unemployment crisis, and no military to defend its borders against hostile neighbors. It seemed impossible to survive. To understand how Singapore achieved this historic turnaround, we have to look back at its origins. For centuries, Singapore was little more than a quiet fishing village. That changed in 1819 when Sir Stamford Raffles identified the swampy island as the perfect site for a British trading port. Despite its reputation for mosquitoes and piracy, the location was ideal. Situated at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, it served as a strategic toll booth between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. Under British rule, it became a bustling, multicultural hub, fueling immense wealth for the empire. Everything changed during World War II. The British were confident in their impenetrable fortress, boasting massive 15-inch naval guns pointed toward the sea. They were so certain of their defense that they ignored the landward side of the island. When the Japanese forces arrived through the jungle in 1942, the British were blindsided. It was a humiliating defeat and, as Winston Churchill put it, the worst disaster in British military history. This vulnerability is a stark reminder of how quickly security can be compromised. Just like the British, many people today leave their own digital back doors wide open. Your online activity is often exposed to prying eyes without you ever realizing it. When you connect to public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop, you risk falling victim to a man-in-the-middle attack where hackers intercept your sensitive data to steal credentials or financial information. That is why I rely on NordVPN. With a single click, it creates an encrypted tunnel for your data, rendering it indecipherable to attackers. You can also use it to virtually teleport your connection to different countries, bypassing geo-restrictions. Secure your digital life today by visiting nordvpn.com/crayoncapital to get an exclusive discount on a 2-year plan, plus 4 bonus months for free. It is a risk-free 30-day money-back guaranteed solution to close your digital back door. After the war, the British returned, but the myth of their invincibility was broken. The local population began demanding independence, leading to a brief and troubled merger with Malaysia in 1963. Tensions between the two governments, centered on ethnic policies and political equality, soon rendered the union untenable. By 1965, Singapore was expelled. Lee Kuan Yew, the nation's leader, famously wept on television, fearing that the young nation was doomed. He had good reason to worry. Singapore lacked water, resources, and defensive capabilities. However, Lee Kuan Yew refused to accept defeat. He pivoted the national strategy toward one core advantage: location. He aimed to make Singapore the essential financial and trading hub of Southeast Asia. To do this, he tackled impossible problems with radical solutions. He invested in massive water catchment systems and desalination technology to ensure independence. He abandoned protectionist policies common in other developing nations, choosing instead to make Singapore a business-friendly, corruption-free destination for global investors. Housing was addressed through the Housing Development Board, which turned the population into homeowners through the Central Provident Fund, a forced savings program that gave every citizen a stake in the country's success. Education was prioritized, with English serving as a neutral language to connect the diverse population to the global economy. To ensure survival, they implemented mandatory military service, creating a credible defense force that made the tiny island poisonous to swallow. These policies proved remarkably effective. By the 1970s, the economy was growing at double-digit rates.
While Singapore's strict laws regarding social order and media control drew criticism from Western observers, the results spoke for themselves. The nation transitioned from the third world to the first in a single generation, eventually surpassing its former colonial master in GDP per capita. When Lee Kuan Yew passed away in 2015, the nation mourned the loss of the architect of their prosperity. Today, Singapore faces new challenges, including an aging population and the complexities of the digital age. Yet the story of its rise remains one of the most remarkable feats of the 20th century. It serves as a lasting reminder that when a nation faces an existential threat, the right leadership and a commitment to innovation can turn what is deemed impossible into reality.